decent returns that are near or on par with returns of one-bedroom units. So far so good. In today's video, we're going to take a look at bachelor/studio units with 0 bedrooms versus 1-bedroom condo units, and break down some prices and my opinions on studios. Let's get down to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. You can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and my office. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have from any topics arising from this video, or if you have any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto/GTA real estate market. Furthermore, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in that regard, in terms of maybe a like on this video and a subscription, is much appreciated, but you're not obliged to do so. As I always say, feel free not to do that and just watch the video. If you happen to enjoy the content though, it is greatly appreciated. Before we get into the topic of today's video, I actually put up a post in my community tab on my channel asking for your questions. Feel free to go respond under that post with your questions, anything to do with the Toronto real estate market, the GTA real estate market, buying, selling, renting, leasing. Try to make your questions as specific as possible. And once I get a bunch of questions, I will answer all those questions in as detailed a fashion as possible in a future video, as I did earlier this month with a Toronto real estate Q&A. So once again, feel free to go ask your questions under that post, or you can get in touch with me with the aforementioned contact info you can find in the description. Ask your questions there as well, and I will answer your questions in a future Toronto real estate Q&A video that should be coming out sometime within the next 2 weeks to a month. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get to the point of today's video, which is studios versus 1-bedroom condominiums, my opinions on studios, and a whole bunch more. You can find the timestamps as always in the description in the time bar. Now, to begin with, the reason I'm making this video is because a commentator under one of my previous videos mentioned that I'm a little too harsh on studios, and studios are actually not that bad an investment, because as you know, if you're a viewer of this channel, I'm not that bullish on studios. I'm actually quite bearish on studios, generally speaking. If the topic comes up, I do mention that I don't think studios are the best investments. I think there's a lot of risks associated with them. I don't like studios whatsoever. So many of you know where I stand, and once again, this commentator said, well, I think you're a little too harsh on studios. They're actually decent investments because they're the cheapest and they have the lowest carrying costs, in an assortment of different reasons. And my job is to be objective and look at the numbers. So let's assess studios versus 1-bedroom units and see if studios are actually good investments and if I'm too harsh. Starting out with one of the pros, one of the benefits of investing in studios, one of the things in favor of studio units as investments, which is the cash flow. Now, let's compare it to 1-bedroom units. When we look at condominiums just by the number of bedrooms, studios are the cheapest to purchase, yet the rental yield is not that much lower than the next most comparable bedroom number, which is 1-bedroom units. So far in downtown Toronto in September, at the time of recording of this video, the average sold price of a studio, once again in downtown Toronto, and that's honestly the best place because that's where studios are the most abundant, the average sold price is $491,000, right? Now, the average sold price of a 1-bedroom condominium in the same time frame in the same location is $656,000, right? And these are, just to keep in mind, 1-bedrooms, not 1+1s, but just 1-bedrooms, right? So studios, 0 bedrooms versus 1-bedroom units, as you can see, $491 and $656, a wide gap in average sold price, right? And obviously there's a lot of other variables that, for the sake of simplicity, we're not taking into account. You know, not all 1-bedroom bedroom units are the same. Age matters, location, layout is very key. But for the simplicity, let's just keep it at just the bedrooms, 0 versus 1. But now let's look at the average rent. For studios in the same area in downtown Toronto, and the average rent for a studio is $17.96, right? Now for one bedrooms, once again, in the same area and the same time frame, the average rent for a one bedroom condominium unit in downtown Toronto is $1,800. To be specific, $1,826. So as we see, the difference between the sold prices is $100,000 and above, whereas the difference between the rental yield, the average cost of rent, is even less than $50. And of course, these are not exhaustive numbers. These are just for the month of September. But if we were to look at year-to-date numbers, it would probably bear out the same thing. I don't think the gap between the rental yields would be as small, but nonetheless, it would be a difference without a consequence. The point here is studios, when compared to one bedroom units, cost far less to purchase. However, when you rent them out, it's only a matter of $50 to $100. So they bring you the same amount of rental income in terms of cash flow, almost the same amount as a one bedroom does. This shows us that studios have this going for it, this as a benefit, that they are cheap to purchase and their rental returns are quite close to that of a one bedroom. Which, to further really extend what that really means, studios offer you a low barrier of entry into real estate investing with decent returns that are near or on par with returns of one bedroom units. So far so good. But that's where the pros of investing in studio units or 0 bedroom units in terms of investing in real estate and condominiums, that's where, in my opinion, the benefits and the pluses kind of stop. Now let's get into the con. Why I'm personally not so bullish, at least not as much as I am with possible 1+1s or 1 or 2 bedroom units, okay? Con number 1, they are much slower to appreciate than any other condominium type, right? So let's continue the same analysis here, right? Let's look at the trajectory of condominium prices in terms of 0 bedrooms, studios versus 1 bedrooms. Let's continue that contrast and that analysis. Looking at this bar graph I made, as you can see, we're taking a look at prices on a monthly basis starting from September 2020 all the way to September 2021 and all the months in between. The red bar represents 1 bedroom units and the blue bar represents the 0 bedroom studio units. So annually speaking, 1 bedrooms have appreciated much more, whereas studios, on the positive side of things, are not really fluctuating all that much. But when there is a dip in prices, that means when there is a downturn in the condo market, studios, as always, feel the brunt of it. So studios deal with slower appreciation, right? There is an appreciation issue attached with studio units. All the other condominium types, if we are breaking it down per bedroom, appreciate at a higher rate than studios do. As you can see, within the last couple of months, 1 bedroom units keep increasing in price on a monthly basis, whereas studios are remaining somewhat stagnant and steady. This is not to say your studio unit will not appreciate in terms of purchase and sale value. No, if you make the right purchase in the right unit, in the right building, and it's a decent layout, as decent as you can get for a studio, and it's good exposure, it has parking, it can stand to appreciate, but it will not appreciate at the same rate as a 1 bedroom will, generally speaking, 99 times out of 100. Another con against studios in connection to the slow appreciation is the days on market issues. Studios stay on market and typically are listed for sale at a far higher rate than 1 bedroom units are. So what does that mean? Days on market is just the number of days your house stays on the market, right? A house for sale stays on the market. Studios deal with the highest number of days on market on average, right? And often that means one of 3 things when a given property stays on the market for a long time. 1, there is little demand for it. 2, it's priced incorrectly. 3, there's little demand for it and it is priced incorrectly. Well, studios usually suffer from 1 and 2 and sometimes 3 as well. And obviously this should make sense. Part of the slow appreciation problem we just discussed is the fact that the demand for studios is less, and that is evident by the fact that they stay on market much longer on average than 1-bedroom condominiums do, 2-bedroom condominiums do, and once again, so on and so forth. And then they usually get delisted a lot more than other condominium types. As you can see from here, this chart, really outside of the month of March, when the condominium market in downtown Toronto was super hot for all types, the portion of the inventory that was delisted versus the portion of the inventory that was sold relative to what was listed for sale is not good at all. Once again, outside of March, and July and August are decent. But if we were to look at the same chart for 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units in downtown Toronto, it would tell a different tale. So in summation, here we can also say that not only do studios stay on market longer, but of the total number of studios at any given moment in time listed for sale, the share of studios that are actually likely to sell is a far smaller segment of the total number of listings. And then lastly, finishing up with the last con, in my opinion, studios are far more susceptible to market conditions. When there's a downturn in the condominium market, studios are the first types of units to face the brunt of that. That means they're hit the hardest. And just looking at this previous chart, as you can see, when we experienced earlier in the year a downturn in the condo market, which really bottomed out in maybe November, December, but made its way back up slowly into the new year in the beginning of 2021, and then March, April were the highs, and thereafter, a couple of weeks into May, it was decent, and then things have been pretty consistent since then. We really truly see the putrid performance of studios all the way from September to 2021, January 2021 on this chart. And I've said this in the past, when there's a downtrend in the market, right, when there's low demand for a given commodity, here obviously condominiums, as we experienced earlier in the year, or late last year, more so late last year, the smallest, the oldest, and the worst build units are always the ones that are hit the hardest. Obviously, if it becomes a buyer's market all of a sudden, which is good for buyers, but not so good for sellers, your commodity and your property type, which is a condominium, is less in demand, your unit will still be affected negatively, but not that much if your unit happens to be a decently spacious 1+1 and a decent building, decent part of the town. Obviously, your property is going to be affected far less in a negative fashion than studios will. And time again, we see studios are basically the infantry. They're at the top of the line. They're at the front of the line in terms of when we're experiencing a downtrend in the condo market. Now, that doesn't happen often. It happened once again late last year, early this year. But in Toronto real estate and Toronto condominium markets, typically we don't experience that many downtrends, as usually more a seller-friendly market. Point here is though, when we're taking everything into account, we have to obviously take into account that studios are far more susceptible. So in summary, let me give you my final thoughts and let me summarize the video. We discussed the fact that studios, what they have going for them is a very low barrier of entry. They're the cheapest, and they actually have very decent rental yield when compared to 1-bedroom units. So a low barrier of entry and a chance at positive cash flow and lower carrying costs, just cheaper, lower costs all over. And once again, yes, basically you're getting the same kind of rental yield that you're getting with 1-bedroom units, which is great. But what they have going against them is slower appreciation for purchase and sale, which is exhibited by the fact that they stay on the market the longest and they have the hardest time selling, and the prices increase the least compared to all other condominium types. And they are also most susceptible and vulnerable to negative market conditions that can arise within the Toronto real estate and GTA real estate condo market. So keeping that in mind, I will admit that maybe I'm a little too harsh on studios, and studios can be good investments, but you have to be very patient and have the long-term view in mind. And even though they're quite cheap, have to at least be buying with minimum 20 to 25% down to make it worth your while. If you lack the patience and if you don't have anything close to 20% down and your investment timeline is not that long term, at the end of the day, it just depends on the specific individual. This is general advice for general audience, right? When I sit down with buyers and sellers on a one-on-one basis, I take into account everything, their finances and everything about the property down to where the bathroom is in the unit and what their exposure is and where their unit is within the building. It just everything. So on a one-on-one basis, you have to really sit down with a professional and see if studios are right for you. As a general advice, I will admit I was a little too harsh on studios, but at the same time, I do think if you do your homework, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom units can bring you more return in the long term. Anyways, that's Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate, RE/MAX Realtron Realty Inc. As always, thank you very much for watching. You can find my contact info in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have with regards to this video or any other video. And lastly, once again, as I always say, thank you very much for watching. Your support and your viewership is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.